On July 16, 1945, the United States government executed Project Trinity. Project Trinity was the first nuclear weapons test in history, taking place in the New Mexican desert. The military, specifically the Army, was in charge of conducting this weapons test and ensuring they found a completely secluded location to do so. A place with virtually no inhabitants was selected. What the Army failed to do was to completely check each and every cave and ravine in that desolate wasteland, however. But we'll come back to that part soon enough. Let me tell you a different story in order to set the proper mood. This is the story of what happens when things don't go quite according to plan. There are certain times in history when a baby is born, one that is different from the rest. Some are naturally more intelligent, some are simply more attractive. Some, however, have differences that are not appealing. Extra fingers or toes, for example, the lack of an eye, a humpback. All of these things are often considered mutations by the modern world. And back in the 1930s, 1940s, 50s, mutants were the pariah of society. Parents would abandon them at churches. People would jeer and spit at them as they passed by. It was only in solitude or in groups of similar persons that they found peace at all. Communes began springing up in different parts of the country. All secluded parts of the country, such as deserts, underground caves, small islands off of the coast, these were the refuges for the outcasts of society. But that all changed in 1945. Project Trinity was the starting point for a couple of significant things. Obviously, it was the trigger to the end of World War II and the massive arms race against the USSR during the Cold War. Also, it was the beginning of a massive genocide you may otherwise never have known about. Near the blast site of Trinity was a community of nearly 45 mutants. All of them were killed instantly by the destructive power unleashed in that first successful blast. In 1946, there were 2 more test fires on communes in the Marshall Islands. In 1951, another blast in the Pacific region caused severe radiation sickness and death to another large group of mutants. 1952, Operation Ivy Mike killed over 150 mutants on another small Pacific island. The final documented test detonation took place on March 1, 1954. This blast, codenamed Castle Bravo, was the most detrimental of all. After discovering that many mutants had moved back to the Marshall Islands, the government decided it was time to make their point finalized. They detonated a 15-megaton bomb in shallow water just off the island shore. Radioactive water vapor and bits of metal entered the atmosphere around the island and fell back onto its shores. The death toll was nearly 220 mutants. Men, women, children, all suffered from radiation sickness. Many developed cancer and spent the rest of their short lives in pain. The lucky ones were killed by falling bits of metal from the sky. But what the government doesn't know is that some mutants, not many, but some of us,
survived.